Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, you only have all week to make a first impression. Do not go south without a candle, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes south without you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. Mark, how's it going?
It's going great. Patrick, I was thinking, when you were growing up, did you have like a comfort toy or blanket or anything that you carried around with you?
Yep.
You were like inseparable.
Well, I don't know inseparable, but I had a primary stuffed animal. He was a little raccoon.
Cute.
Yeah. Did you have one?
I didn't have a stuffed animal. I was thinking about this earlier today for I don't even know why. I had a blanket.
Is there some reason that you might have felt that you needed comfort? Mark, is that what's going on? You had a blanket.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I had a blanket.
Look, we're not going to dwell on it, but it's a nightmare in
yeah.
LA right now. Go ahead.
The thing is, it's not really.
Well, okay. The thing that is a nightmare is just that look, the city's not on fire. We're fine. But yeah, there's ICE agents like running around picking people up. That's the nightmare I'm referring to.
Yes. I had a blanket.
Uh-huh.
And it was one that like I believe my mom made.
Mm-hmm.
And I took that blanket with me everywhere. And
the Linus special.
Yes, exactly. And it got to the point where it was just like coming apart. There were just like holes in it.
Right.
But
did it get down to like threads and you were just carrying around like a ball of twine, basically?
I think the kind of like final moments of that blanket were when it had come apart so much that there were holes in it, and I like woke up and I had like got my head through one of the holes and it was like choking me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. My mom was like, this is the end of this blanket, but cut it up so that way I could have like a piece of it to carry around with me.
Now, do you still have a piece of this blanket?
I do still have a piece of it. Yes. Yeah.
Is it at your house currently, or is it at your parents'? Okay.
House.
Well, it sounds like you don't really have it. But the two things like this in my life. One is my brother Jack was very attached to a stuffed animal clown bear that had like its body was all like kind of a nylon texture and just like had like a sack of like cotton inside it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise he's like a white bear. His name was Bear Bear, and he traveled everywhere and totally fell apart at some point. And then the other is a family friend of ours had a Grover doll that he took everywhere. And like way too old. Like I think Giancarlo was like 8 or 9 and still like carrying this Grover doll everywhere. And, we had to perform surgery on Grover to, like, put arms back on. All that kind of good stuff.
Did your raccoon have a name?
I honestly don't remember if my raccoon had a name. I still have him.
Here,
yes.
Oh, okay.
In the apartment. I did just glance over at the bookshelf where he sat for a while, but I guess he's not there now. Yeah, I don't know. He's around. He never goes away.
That's fun.
But yeah, I never... Like, I knew him to be he stays in the bedroom.
Sure,
He doesn't like come out or like go to sleepovers or school or whatever.
Right.
So your mom made you that blanket?
Uh-huh.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, she is quite the seamstress.
Did she make you guys clothes and stuff?
She did for a while. Like
Wow.
Every Christmas, she would make pajamas for all of us.
That's so cool. Does she still do that?
She doesn't still make them regularly, but sometimes for like grandkids or something like that, she'll still make a
sure,
blanket
fair enough.
or,
that's good.
like a dress or something like that.
Okay, see if you can get me a pair of pajamas.
yeah,
for Christmas this year.
yeah. I'll work on that.
If you want to help us get pairs of pajamas, you can go to patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society, where if you are supporting us at the 8-bit or 16-bit levels, you get access to our once-a-month episodes of miniseries like NCS Arcade.
Yes, NCS Arcade Season 3 just finished with a discussion of Wario Land 4, originally released for the Game Boy Advance. We also had a listener feedback episode that you can check out for free if you're following us on Patreon at any level,
Any level.
including the free level, where we talked a little bit more about Wario Land 4 and answered a listener email about that. But we're also very excited to announce a new mini-series that we're going to be starting and doing for the rest of the year.
Yeah, which is going to be called NCS at the Movies.
Yes, that's right. I mean, I think we've mentioned before on the show that we love going to the movies, and we
are frequently bad at it.
I'm frequently bad at it,
and
but we're not going to be anymore, because every month we're going to go see a movie, and then we're going to talk about it, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
And it's going to be movies that we see in the theater. I think they're mostly going to be first run movies, but maybe we'll see some stuff at smaller theaters and like reps, and sometimes it'll be big blockbustery stuff. 2 big superhero movies coming out this summer. I'm sure we'll talk about either or both of them. And sometimes it'll be littler stuff, kind of however we feel moved.
That's right. So if that sounds interesting to you,
right,
you can go over to the Patreon and list supporters at the 8-bit or 16-bit level will get access to those. And that'll be starting in July because of a little bit of a scheduling conflict.
And we'll do 2 in July.
We won't have an episode in June, but we will be doing 2 in July to make up for it.
It is funny that we're still being cagey about it. July, we're going to do both Fantastic Four and Superman.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. That's the plan.
I also just want to, I know that like NCS Arcade makes a lot of sense for us to continue talking about video games on the Patreon. That feels like a natural match for us. We did kind of think that like our extra game time now that the Switch 2 is out should be committed to Switch 2 games, or like new games or games that we are experiencing new on Switch 2, and that those conversations should be part of the main feed for everyone to have access to. So that's sort of the rationale for changing up what we're doing on the Patreon for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. If you are not in our Discord, you should be. Email us, Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com, and we'll send you an invitation. One last thing you can do with that email, Mark, you can email us questions or topics for our 866 episode. We're doing a full episode not at all about Nintendo.
That's right. And that's happening next week. It'll be celebrating our 866th episode, and in order to do that, we are going to do it's 433 times 2.
That's right.
So send in your questions, your topics,
and the clowns, of course.
They're already here, Patrick.
Oh, you're referring to my brother's bear?
Bear, who goes everywhere.
Bear, who goes everywhere. All right. But yes, thank you to everyone who has sent in questions already. Thank you to everyone who's thinking about sending in a question. And
you should do that by Monday. Should we say Monday?
Just do it as soon as possible. If we don't get your email, I won't use it.
Fair enough.
There we go. All right, Mark, we have now spent 1 full week with the Switch 2. Let's talk about it. Kind of more of a free-form discussion here today, where we can get deep into our impressions of the new games that we're playing, the old games that we're playing, and just our experience with the Switch 2 hardware and stuff in general. We talked on Tuesday's episode about securing the Switch 2 and our sort of like first couple minutes with the system, but this is going to be our opportunity to really talk about what we've been playing on them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know. Let's start with the the hardware itself.
Yeah,
because neither of us, had an opportunity to go to any of the preview events. Neither of us won the lottery for when they were holding like the Nintendo Switch 2 events in LA,
right?
To be able to like put.
We did try.
Hardware. We did.
Mm-hmm.
We did try, but and so I didn't really know what to expect, other than reading other people's impressions and seeing like YouTube videos and stuff.
Yeah. Well, so I guess my first question then is, was there anything that surprised you? Because I'll just say that for me, I felt like I was getting what had been promised from the Direct, from the Ask the Developers stuff that I had seen, from reading people's first impressions at those hands-on experiences. I don't think there was much that surprised me once I actually got my hands on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I was surprised, but I was impressed. Like,
yeah.
it's so the Switch 2 feels so premium. Like in a way that the Switch and even the OLED, like I having the Switch 2, it makes the OLED feel creaky and bad to
Right.
me.
It makes it feel like the regular Switch, right?
Right.
Like I remember having that the changeover from my first generation launch day Switch to the OLED and being like, oh, I'm never gonna look back. The screen is brighter. It's like a fraction faster. And it just made the old thing feel like a prehistoric object. And now I feel like the Switch 2 has done that to my OLED.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like I think it's just like a really good looking piece of hardware.
Yeah, and I would say that that extends to the dock as well. That the dock feels more like a premium, and I know there is like some technology in the dock. There's a fan in there. There was no fan in the previous dock, and everything just feels a lot sturdier.
Yeah, totally.
And that so much of that is due to the magnets locking the Joy-Con 2 in place. But I feel like the sticks also feel sturdier and the buttons are bigger on the Joy-Con 2. So like all of that just feels more, I don't know, just solid, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was like very happy with it. Very impressed. It definitely feels like a new generation of Switch hardware.
Yes, right, which it is.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is what you would want from a
something
Switch
called the
2.
Switch 2. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I believe I touched on this on Tuesday, but just want to reiterate that because the Switch 2 connects via a high speed HDMI to your TV or monitor, that I had to not use the HDMI cable that I had been using. I had sort of like a comically long HDMI cable that I run from my TV to like a little shelf that's like out in the middle of the room where I kept the Switch. It's because I like having it like sort of in a display. The Switch is so weird in that like it's this like flat thing that you kind of don't want to like tuck away sideways in an entertainment center. And like if you put it in front of a TV, it's like gonna block some of it. So I never really know what to do with it. Which is why I had the shelf situation. But so that HDMI cable, which dates back to, putting the Switch, the original Switch in the first place, was not high speed. And so I was getting like really wonky colors and like static, like visual interference when trying to use that. So, while the micro SD cards are express, the HDMI cables are also high speed. Like everything is just a little bit more premium here than it was on the original system.
What did you end up doing?
It's behind the TV now,
Oh, uh-huh.
which it makes it a little bit more inconvenient to switch between docked and handheld mode, but like only marginally so. I just need to like reach around behind it.
That's where mine is. Mine is also kind of like behind the TV.
Yeah,
And it is awkward to try to attach the Joy-Con onto it.
right.
I do think it's easier with the magnets though,
Totally.
versus the rails of the original Switch. But yeah, I don't really have an ideal setup for mine either. Like there's no
Yeah.
like ideal place to put it.
Yeah, I really don't either, and I'm a little bit worried. I have just to preview this. I have not gotten to mess with the camera at all, and part of that is like I don't really, with the Switch being physically where it is, I don't know how I'm gonna like run the cable from the camera into the Switch itself. Do you know what I
Mm,
mean? That is,
mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess it probably won't be too hard, just like under the TV, but it seems like kind of a hassle. And I'm never like going to be in love with the idea of having a camera looking at the couch all the time. Like I'm going to put it there when I'm using it,
Yeah.
and then never otherwise.
That's how I have it in a like cupboard underneath the
Yeah.
TV that I could take it out and put it out when I want to use it,
Hmm.
which has not come up yet, but theoretically at some point
Right.
I will.
I would like you and I to be disciplined about trying to play games together this generation, because I think we never did it.
I mean, we played couch co-op.
We played
But
couch co-op, and I think we visited each other's Animal Crossing islands.
We must have during
in
COVID.
2020.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally speaking, we have not been good about playing games together. And I'll see you like on sometimes, and when we're playing a game for like NCS Arcade or whatever, it would make sense for us to just be like hanging out together playing the game.
Right.
But
We never did it.
It simply has not happened.
The other thing that thought was so nice about the Switch 2, and again, not really a surprise if you read any of the impressions, but to actually experience it was like, okay, this is great. Is that the eShop runs so much faster?
Yes.
Like the eShop and the Nintendo Switch Online app are no longer embarrassing to use.
So they're no longer embarrassing, but I will say the PlayStation 5 store runs better than
Mm-hmm.
the Nintendo Switch 2 eShop, which shouldn't be surprising, right? Like the PlayStation 5 is a more powerful machine than the Switch 2. I guess I also have not hooked up or plugged in an Ethernet cable
Oh, uh-huh.
to the dock yet. Do you have
Yes,
yours
I do.
wired? I should probably do that, and maybe that'll change my experience. But I still found that like I had to wait a little bit for it to load stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely not instantaneous. Um, I do you know offhand, like, is the PlayStation 5 store native? Because I think is it like web based? Because that's basically what the eShop is, right? They're just like wrapping a website
Yeah, I think
in
that's right. I mean, I think the PlayStation 5 it's like an app on the
mm-hmm.
on the PlayStation. And that's I can also browse the PlayStation Store on my phone and buy things on there. Just picked up The Last of Us Part 2 remastered because it was on sale for $23. So I was like, yes, please.
The one thing I wonder with the eShop on the Switch too, and I don't think that this was the case with the Switch. I think on the Switch it was always slow. Like it was slow when it
Yeah.
launched, and it was slow, like today. But is it like, oh, when you get a new computer or a new phone or something, everything's so snappy in the beginning, but by the end of the Switch 2 generation, will the eShop be slow again?
It's a great question. It's tough to say because like a lot of I think what was slowing down the Switch 2 or the Switch 1 eShop was just the sheer volume of crap that's on there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not any different, right? You still have access to all the same.
Well, no, I don't think that.
You don't think an abundance of I guess maybe you're right that like
Because
why would
like
that slow it down?
Because even when you were going to like the bestsellers, right? That's always a
That would
fixed
take a long
amount,
time too.
and
Yeah.
it always was a crappy experience.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
But I don't know. The Switch 2 interface obviously is so familiar if you are familiar with the interface of the Switch. And like I said when the Switch 2 was announced, I just wish it was a little more whimsical. Like I wish like
I
there's
do
not
think there's a little more whimsy here than there was on the original Switch, though. Do you disagree with that?
I
It's not a lot, for sure.
yeah, what do you think is more whimsical?
So far, I think the whimsy has come across in the form of the little music during the setup.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And now the sort of like indicator of when you are selecting a game or like a gamer profile or whatever is like a blue sort of like shimmering thing that surrounds the icon that just like has a little bit more personality than the original Switch did. It also sings a little song when you wake it up. Like it's a like it's my air filter, air
Right.
purifier.
Uh-huh.
And it's all like tiny, 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 tiny little stuff, which makes it a little bit more personality driven than the Switch One, but still like nowhere near like the Wii or Wii U or whatever.
Right. And that's probably like going overboard, but I wish it was a little bit more in the middle.
Right. Do you wish that you saw little Pikmin carrying your save data over from one machine to the
I mean,
next?
yeah, a little bit.
Because that's what the Wii to Wii U did, which is
It
awesome.
was little Pikmin.
It was little Pikmin,
Oh,
and
that's fun.
they would pick up individual icons that represented a game, and they would like walk off, and like into the Wii U and like plant the game in the new
Yeah,
system. Yeah.
I do wish it was a little bit more like that. Like I was thinking of on the 3DS eShop how it had the little, I don't even know what he was, like
Oh yeah, it's like a little shopping bag with
little
feet.
shopping
Yeah.
bag with feet, and the data would like drop into him. Do you remember that? When you were like
Yeah.
downloading the
Yes.
blocks?
Right, and they'd be like little gems, right? They would like come in on
Yes.
a line and then like
Yes.
drop into them
Uh-huh.
like one at a time.
Yeah. And like
And on the Wii, when you were downloading stuff, that there was like a little Mario that would
where
run
they would
across.
run and like when
Yeah,
he hit the coin block, I was trying to
yeah.
remember that.
And at the end of it, he would just like hit it over and over and
Uh
over again.
huh.
That's all very fun. I like the practicality of like we're just gonna do these things in the background. It's not gonna be like uh it's not going to unduly tax the system. And I understand the system is now more powerful, so like they could stand to have a little Mario run across and like hit a box. Um, but the fewer like bells and whistles on like sort of mundane stuff, the better the system's gonna run, right?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Um, which is also part of why like the eShop is like clean and doesn't have strange little animations or whatever. It's just so things can happen as smoothly as possible.
Right. I guess I just feel like it. You could have like both. I just want my cake. I want to eat it too.
Yeah, and look, that's a great saying that I came up with on this show a couple months ago, um, years ago now. Who even remembers when I first coined that phrase? But yeah, I mean, I think that's just something that doesn't exist in like the Switch vocabulary right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else about like the hardware experience of? Oh, Mark, we got to talk about this. Switch 2 Pro controllers, the first time you have owned a Pro controller.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So tell me about your Pro controller experience.
Yeah, I actually wonder if I my first Pro controller experience should have been with the Switch because the Switch 2 Joy-Con are a little bit bigger,
Mm-hmm.
and I think like you could just play with a grip
Yeah.
much more
Yes.
comfortably than you could like theoretically. I played with the Joy-Con grip, the entire Switch generation, and
Right.
it was totally fine for
And
me.
you've got big hands.
And I have big hands. Like it worked totally fine for me, and I didn't miss having a Pro controller.
And he didn't complain once.
Yeah, like
Go back and listen.
but I did. I bought a Pro controller for the Switch 2, and it is really nice. There is something that's funny to me about I am so used to playing with like Joy-Con and holding
Yeah.
my hands in that very specific way that it feels a little bit like I'm playing with the original Xbox controller.
The Duke,
Yeah,
yes.
the Duke.
Uh-huh.
That was where it's just like, oh, this feels very large, but because I'm just not used to like playing with a controller like that
Right.
anymore. But it is a very nice controller.
Here's a little gut check I just want to explore for a second.
Yeah.
Do kids now know about the original Xbox Duke controller?
No, I don't think so.
Because that would
I don't
have.
think so.
When did the Xbox come out? Like
2002
or 3, something like that?
I'm gonna guess earlier than that. I'm gonna guess
Like 2001?
yeah.
Like contemporary to the GameCube. Yeah, and they weeded that thing out before the 360 came out just a couple years later.
November 15th, 2001.
Yep. So yeah, so that was 26 years ago. No, wait.
Nope.
I went too
24
far.
years ago.
I did it the wrong way. 24 years ago. What a way to not like own up to doing the math wrong. I did it the wrong way.
Yes. The Duke. Man, what a time.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
But so yeah, I am liking the Pro controller. But I find myself like going between them a lot. So
Well, right. Some of what we're playing in this first week, we'll talk about games in particular. But like I've been playing the Welcome Tour, Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, which will frequently have you do Joy-Con to specific things. So I mostly play that with the Joy-Con
right.
separated because it'll want us to do mouse stuff. I was playing Cyberpunk 2077 last night, and that also like you have an option to do mouse controls with that. So like I would say my playtime so far has been about 50-50. And then also Sarah's very into Mario Kart World, loves it. So we're playing a lot of that together. And so one of us always has the Joy-Cons and the other one always has the Pro controller. Yeah.
I do think it's good for me personally to be using the Pro controller more because when I have like work Mario Kart tournaments in the past, I would have somebody would like somebody would have to use the Pro controller, and sometimes it was me.
Right.
And I was so clumsy I'd be so clumsy. And anytime there's a Mario Kart or like um especially because people who know that I do like Nintendo
Right,
stuff, they
right,
expect me to be really great. And I'm not that good at games in general. And then you give me a controller that I'm unfamiliar with.
right.
It's just a sad occurrence. So this puts me in fighting form in a lot of different
That's right.
opportunities, right? It's like, yeah, throw a pro controller at me. I can handle it.
I love this as a discovery for you that the rest of us have been living in a pro controller world for 8 years. And Mark just has not had a need for it.
Yeah.
Any other bits of the hardware that we want to talk about before moving into because I feel like the sort of like form factor with everything else is like a little bit unremarkable. I liked how easy it was to install the micro SD express card. It's just under the kickstand, which the kickstand is nice, right? Like it is allows for like a pretty full range of how far back you want your Switch propped up. And then also like the game cards. You don't own any game cards, right?
No, I don't. I don't.
I picked up Cyberpunk physically because I had some rewards from Best Buy. So I did that, and all of those cards are basically the same as the original Switch game cards.
Basically, except
Yes.
Welcome Tour lets us know that they're
Welcome
not
Tour
exactly
did
the
clue
same.
me in. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. The shape is slightly different,
Yes.
but not so much that it would prevent you from putting them in the wrong system, but the system senses the shape and knows if it's the wrong one.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I think everything else otherwise pretty straightforward, pretty
Yeah, I think
not
so.
remarkable. Yeah,
I think so too. I mean, yeah, really, what is there to say about the magnetic connection of the Joy-Con 2? Um, it,
yeah. There's
it's
not
great.
much. Yeah. How do you feel about the new Joy-Con straps?
I haven't even put them on.
You haven't even put them on, not
Uh,
even for like doing mouse stuff.
no.
Oh, I've not tried to make them be mouses without those straps.
Oh yeah, I haven't even bothered.
Oh, interesting.
Does it enhance it in some way? Do you think it makes it easier to? Because I have found that like mouse controls on my couch or mouse controls on like trying to do it on my leg or something is just does not work. It needs to be like a flat
Yeah.
mouse, like a surface that you would normally use a mouse on in optimal conditions.
Now this is interesting because you and I talked about this before, and I had said that when that I am finding an absurd level of control with the Joy-Con 2 as mouses, and I tested it earlier today, like on a pant leg or on the couch, like super smooth, really easy, have a lot of control,
Hmm.
and I'm always using the straps.
Yeah,
So I wonder,
interesting.
and the straps also have like little feet on like little pads on either end, so that if you're not gonna like scratch up a surface. And I've got these like kind of marble like coffee table things that I mean they're kind of beat up at this point anyway, but I feel like I'm not in danger of damaging them with
Oh,
the little like feet pads on
Well,
the.
I mean, Welcome Tour also tells us that the on like the end of the
Yes,
Joy-Con are little
yes,
pad things to help uh like the mouse controls
right,
even without the strap on. Yeah, I should try it with the strap. Maybe it does make a difference. I haven't even put them on. I never used them on my with my Switch.
yeah.
And so even like when I would bring the my Switch and like visit family or whatever and play it with my nieces and nephews, I was always just using the Joy-Con
Without the strap.
without the
So
strap.
then, even in something where you have to use the L and R buttons,
Yeah.
SL and SR, and just like kind of like
I
really,
I think the straps are so annoying. Like I understand why they're there and it totally makes sense, but at least on the Switch, I found them so irritating to have
hmm,
to like put them on, put them off. It's just another thing that you have to carry with you.
yeah.
Like because if you're traveling with a Switch, you have to put
No,
them in the
that's
case
true.
with it. Like it
That's
just
true. It's
seems
an
like
annoying thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
I avoided them at all costs. But how does it work with the Joy-Con 2? Do they snap on? Is it also magnetic or
Yeah.
is it oh okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they go on basically the exact same way, and are just as like secure as they would be otherwise. I will say that is a massive improvement over the straps for the original Joy-Con because they have like that little like white thing that you had to like pull up and then
Uh-huh.
like slide out. And sometimes if you put them on like upside down or backwards, that it would really like screw them up. And then it would be like hard and kind of scary to disconnect them. That has not been my experience at all with the new Joy-Con straps. Um, is that it with the hardware?
I think so.
Okay, games.
Games. Let's get into it.
Let's start with Mario Kart World and let's like really dig into our experiences with Mario Kart World. Mark, how you feeling about Mario Kart World?
Yeah, I will admit that it took me a little bit to get it.
Sure.
But I
What's your approach? What's the first thing you do in a new Mario Kart game?
so this time the first thing I did was a cup.
Yeah.
I did just like the mushroom cup or whatever. And
do you go right for 150cc?
no,
do
I
you
can't
start
no,
at 50?
I do not 150cc is not fun to me.
That's too fast for you.
I'm a 100cc person.
So is that where you started? Is that 100?
That's where I started. I started
Okay,
at like 100cc. Yeah.
So we started at 50. So I was playing this with Sarah. And we started at 50cc, sort of because I don't like moving on to the higher CCs until I've gotten the 3 stars in the cup in the lower CCs.
Which
yeah.
you get for getting first in all of the races.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. So yeah, I also started Mushroom Cup 50cc and played like that. That was my first impression of the game.
But and I don't know, there was something. I mean, obviously Mushroom Cups, like the first cup is always an introduction.
Right.
Also, I was playing it at like 2 o'clock in the morning because, I spent so much time setting up my Switch.
Yes.
I was like, well, I've got to play at least 10 minutes of this thing before I go to bed. So I was playing it maybe like under not ideal circumstances, but I don't know. It really wasn't until I feel like playing it the next day and then really on Saturday is the first time that I had like a lot of time to play it, and I started doing like knockout tour and like all that kind of stuff, that I began to really appreciate it for all of the things that it has changed about Mario Kart. Like it feels like everything that was part of like a Mario Kart standard was for so long has been picked up and thought about and maybe tweaked a little bit and then put back down, and they moved on to like the next thing. It feels like it feels very familiarly Mario Kart.
Yes.
But it also feels like really fresh and interesting.
Totally.
And new.
Right. And I think a lot of that comes across in the sort of tweak that they made to the like what was anti-gravity in previous Mario Kart games, 7 and 8. So Mario Kart games for the last 15 years, basically, and turn that into the sort of like rail riding, wall riding mechanic, which will still kind of like let you do some of the like 0G stuff, but you're like opting into it.
Well, I feel like the problem with the Zero's G stuff, especially looking back on it, is that it doesn't do
change
anything.
The way you play. Yeah. Yeah.
Like Zero G is theoretically cool, I guess, if you were watching a replay of it.
Right.
But when you're racing, it's all the same to you. Same with like racing underwater. It doesn't really change anything.
Yes.
But like but here when you're racing on top of the water, and it makes it like it changes the physics and the mechanics, and it's more like a wave race
it's totally like wave race in that like as you are going over little waves, you can do tricks off of them and like do jumps, and if you're not, it'll really be slowing you down. So like yeah, you have to really, and the waves are organic. They're being generated by like some places just have them naturally, but like if you are on a still body of water and you start like doing that charge jump, which is another thing that's new to the game, you can make your own waves, or like you can ride waves based on how other people are throwing the water around, which is all just like insanely cool.
And what I thought was so interesting about the game is that it really sets out its priorities, I think, really clearly, in that it is a Mario Kart game first, and then free roam exists and is obviously a big selling point, but it's not on the big board when you start up the game.
Right.
Like free roam is down in the bottom right hand corner, is like a little indicator, like you can get into it by pressing plus or whatever.
So you can do that. You can also select the map and go into it that way to like land in a specific part of the world.
But like the marquee items that are,
Right.
like Grand Prix and Knockout Tour and like that kind of stuff. So I appreciate that it is like a Mario Kart game first, and then the other, like free roam is there, obviously. And I feel like the free roam is another one that took me a little bit to appreciate, and I still, what I like about free roam is when we were doing in the past, when we've done like track rankings for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe,
Yes.
like I would play in I wouldn't do Grand Prix. I would play time trials. That way I could take my time and actually like stop and look at the look on like the sides or look out in the distance and all that kind of stuff to like take in the world as much as possible. But it was always so removed. It teased you with what could possibly be over there,
Right.
but you could never experience it. So what I really love about free roam is the ability to do that, the ability to explore the world. And but I don't even mind. I know that some of the feedback earlier was, or like in early impressions and stuff, was that it felt pretty empty. And that I don't really feel that way. I just wish it had a better mini map and better tracking of like the activities in it.
Yes. So not even for me, it's not even a mini map. I wish I could pull up an actual map, right? Like as I'm exploring it, you can always exit out back to like the title screen and like see the map. But there's no. It'll tell you how many of the question blocks that you've or question panels that you've activated in a specific area, which is nice, and like how many there are. Very cool. But the blue P switches, which trigger these like individual challenges, which range from like pretty easy to like kind of impossibly difficult. And some of them are like 12-second challenges, and some of them are like a minute and a half long. Um, uh, those, it just tells you how many you've done, period, on the entire map, and not where they are, or even how many are in a given area. And that would be really useful. And the same thing is true of the Peach medallions, which are just collectibles that are out there. And you're not like collecting them so you can buy stuff, or I mean, you get stickers based on how many of them you have. But like, um, that's kind of it. I do really wish there was something better indicating like you've cleared out this area of all of these things, or like, hey, there are two more P switches in this area, would make it really fun to like go back and explore that
And
stuff.
I wish you could drill down, like get more detail
Yes.
into an area, because you can tell that you're in like Crown City or whatever, but that's it. I
Right.
remember there was a park that I found in Crown City that I wanted to go back to, and it took me a while of just like driving around aimlessly
To find
until I
it.
like got my
Yeah.
bearings. And maybe that's the point. Maybe that's what they want you to do. But I just wish there was an ability to have a more detailed layout so it was easier to like wayfind.
I do think that it is interesting how much they are in both that and in the way you unlock costumes in the game, which we'll talk about as well. How much they just don't tell you, that they're like, go mess around with it. You'll figure it out. You are rewarded frequently enough. You find P switches enough. You find new costumes enough. And you unlock new like enemy characters to play as enough that you never feel like it's not happening for you, but it does not give you the tools to like track it or even like give you an impression of how it works, right? So for a character like Mario or Luigi, they've got something like 8 alternate costumes each. And you unlock a costume by collecting the food power up, which gives you a little boost. And if it's food that character hasn't eaten before, it is likely that's going to unlock a new outfit for them, which they will then wear for the remainder of that race or for the rest of while you're going around in free roam mode. And then you can select that costume on the character select screen from there on out. But like, there's a way to see how many costumes each character has and how many you've unlocked. But again, you got to like go into the map thing,
Mm-hmm.
or go all the way to the end of the character select screen, and you can see that there's still like, you'll see like a Bowser silhouette, and you'll be like, okay, so there's still one more Bowser I need to unlock, or maybe several more. But it's all that kind of stuff. then you don't know what's going to trigger it for which characters. And so, but like you can kind of start to intuit it after a while, where it's like, okay, Waluigi just got an outfit from this food. Maybe Wario will also get one from the same food.
Right.
Or like Baby Rosalina, great. Now try Baby Peach and Baby Daisy. And it's like that. It's a cool little like game you can start to puzzle out and be rewarded with all these cool new
Well,
costumes.
and the thing I like about that as well is it incentivizes me to play as characters I normally would never even
Totally.
like think to play as. You know, like I would not play as the baby characters if I wasn't incentivized
Right.
to unlock those costumes. Um yeah, I totally think so.
Do you have any like early favorite costumes? I feel like at some point we're gonna have to do like, if not an overall costume ranking, like a character by character costume ranking.
Uh-huh. I had Waluigi and up in like Boo Cinema area,
Yeah.
I unlocked the vampire
Vampire
costume
Waluigi.
for him
Yeah, it's a
and
good one.
I like that. I like that quite a bit.
There is a Toadette like ice cream scooper one where she's got these big white glasses and like these little overalls. She's so cute.
I haven't played as Toadette at all yet.
Oh yeah, you got
Yeah.
it. You got to get those Toadette costumes.
Do you have a favorite vehicle?
No, I don't. I kind of I cycle through them. Sarah really favors the cloud.
Oh,
There's like a little Lakitu cloud. And but my I do have a favorite vehicle name.
Is it Little Dumpy?
It's Little Dumpy,
Yeah,
baby.
Not only do I love Little Dumpy as a name,
Yeah.
but that's also the
That's
car
your
that I
go-to
favor.
car.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
yeah.
You know what? I do really like the Rob bicycle
Oh,
or a motorcycle, whatever.
Right, yeah.
That's very cool. And it's fun to then ride around on Rob.
I tend to stay away from the bikes.
You know,
generally speaking.
I used to be that way too in 8 and really even in like Wii when they introduced bikes. But for whatever reason in this they feel better to me. I'm actually finding that all of the characters and all the vehicles they feel like a little bit different from each other, but the difference feels less dramatic to me in World than it did in 8.
Oh yeah, that is interesting because I kind of feel the opposite. Like
Oh,
for
really?
me, I feel like the differences are more pronounced. Like I was playing as Toad for a little bit, or no, maybe I was playing as Waluigi for a little bit, and then I switched over to Donkey Kong and I was using the same vehicle and I was like, "Whoa, this feels very different to me."
That's interesting because they should both be
They're heavy.
heavy weight class. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't because they all feel so similar. I've not felt the need to like drill down into the differences between them.
Yeah. I am I don't know. Kind of like we were talking about with the hardware. I feel like having Mario Kart World and now comparing it to something like 8 Deluxe, which was previously like the pinnacle of Mario Kart.
Right.
It's like, "Oh, that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe feels so stale and so boring to me." Like
Yes.
cuz everything in the world of Mario Kart World has so much personality. Like the characters have so much personality. The areas themselves, I feel like, have so much
I
personality.
totally agree with this take. Yeah.
The even I feel like the vehicles have like everything's more cartoony. Everything's less realistic, and so
Mhm.
everything is just more fun. Like everything is just a little cuter.
Well, and everything feels a little bit more like intentionally geared towards a uh like a celebration road trip sort of aesthetic that feeds into the idea of World and all of these like drive-throughs where you're picking up food to go. So many of the alternate costumes are like food service based. Sometimes it's ice cream scoops. Sometimes like there's a Yoshi who's like got a drive-through headset on.
Right.
And he's got some crumbs on his face. It's really cute. But like the way that all of that works as a and the knockout tours as well are like kind of expressly road trip in theme, right? That you're going from one end of the map to the other, and even in the individual carts, that like there's a continuity. You're leaving one area to go to the next area and then race there. It feels like there's a journey as part of all of these races. And the way that concludes, can we talk like the end of the cups? Is that
Sure.
Is that okay? So if you don't want spoilers for Mario Kart World, such as there are, I mean, I do think that there is like genuinely a pretty cool experiential surprise at the end. Skip ahead if you don't want that spoiled for you. But there are seven cups that are available from the jump, and when you finish all seven of them, I don't know what place you need to finish them in, but as long as you
Yeah, I
finish
wonder if
them, I
it's just
think
do them. Yeah.
um, that it unlocks the final cup, and the final cup includes a rainbow road at the end of it. And this rainbow road is an all timer. It's my favorite rainbow road by a mile. It may be my favorite Mario Kart track, period. Um, and it is a celebration of previous rainbow roads, sort of sampling ideas, race mechanics, and like sort of cosmetic things from Rainbow Roads from across the series. It's not even laps, but like sections, and it's like 8 sections long. It's this sprawling thing that has, that magical rainbow train going alongside of it for part of it, and it's populated with dinosaurs and Donkey Kong robots and all this other stuff from throughout the game. It does such a good job of celebrating itself and the series and Rainbow Road as a concept, and is just a phenomenal experience. How did you find the Rainbow Road?
I haven't done it yet.
Oh, Mark! It's incredible. You got to check out the Rainbow Road. I'm sorry I just spoiled it for you.
No, no, no. It's like just existing on the internet. I knew
You knew, okay.
like the Rainbow Road stuff. Yeah.
But it's absolutely killer. And then when the credits roll after, it is against a backdrop of like Polaroid pictures from a like road trip through Mario
Fun.
Kart World, and there are like little captions written on there like a delicious sandwich, or like wonder how that got there, and like all this kind of stuff that just feels incredible. And it's at this point that I want to mention the music.
Oh my gosh.
Mark, you like the music in this game?
The music in this game, killer. Best Nintendo soundtrack
I think so.
ever.
It's I mean, they're obviously the Super Smash Brothers series is like renowned for celebrating Nintendo music. And it usually does a very nice job of like remixing things and having new orchestrations and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like this puts it to shame.
I think so too. And there's something about like the approach. I don't even know how to articulate it because you're right. Smash Brothers also has like a collection of reorchestrated,
Yep.
video game music. But there is something about the way that it's done in Mario Kart World that is just so special. It's like a love letter
Yeah.
to the Mario series.
Right. Well, and like 8 Deluxe has a pretty good score as well, right? And it's got a very like clear, like kind of big band jazz aesthetic, right? And that there are just a lot of like cool remixes of and arrangements of all these Mario pieces, and Nintendo greater with like the F-Zero stuff and Zelda. But Mario Kart World is so focused on just Mario stuff. And since it's not a game that originally came out 10 years ago, it's able to incorporate so much more music that's been added to the canon since 8 came out.
Well, and I also feel like a huge difference between this and Mario Kart World and like the soundtrack for 8 Deluxe is that it's designed to be like ambient music. It's designed to be
Yes.
music that you would turn on the radio on a car trip or when you're just exploring the world. So it's not track focused. They obviously have music that plays on specific tracks.
Yes.
But then the rest, when you're like in free roam or you're just going around, it's background music. And so the goal of it is so different from
Yeah,
the
this is
track
true, right.
focused score of of previous Mario Kart games.
Yeah, like, and as a result, it feels a little bit less bombastic and therefore like a little bit more measured. Which isn't to say that it's not like fun or upbeat, because it is, but like, yeah, I don't know. It's just it's incredible to like hear some like Donkey Kong Country music, or I heard the end credits music from Mario 64, but like a totally new arrangement of it. Heard a lot of the like the Bowser music from 3D World, that ba-da-dun-dun-dun-dun. and I don't know. I heard some Bowser's Fury stuff in there. Odyssey is all over this thing. It's really, really incredible. I love the music. Can't wait for them to put this on the Nintendo Music app.
I know, and I wonder if it's going to be a very long
It's gonna be
wait because it's
forever.
because
Yeah.
it's so new. Yeah, and I
Oh, I just want to log the usual complaint. I can't believe that I can't mess with the audio settings and turn down the sound effects.
You know, it's so interesting because that drives me crazy in 8 Deluxe, but I feel like for my money, they've done such a great job in World of balancing,
I
like
think it's
of
better.
sound mixing.
Yes.
And so even when I'm like, especially in free roam,
Hmm.
I never feel like the music is being drowned out by everything else going on.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I also think, I mean, I would love if there was a way to see what is currently playing. And I say
Mm-hmm.
that because um there was an arrangement of a song that I couldn't place
Oh yes,
in the moment.
love it.
And I wish I knew what it was because I love the arrangement so much that I wanted to like find it on YouTube or whoever had
Right.
captured it, and I don't know.
You don't know
I
what it
don't know what
was.
it was. It almost like in my head it is morphed into like the Great Fairy Fountain
Oh
from
sure.
Zelda, but I don't think that's the case because I think they really have kept it to like I Mario and
And
like
some Donkey
and like
Kong.
some like
Right.
Donkey Kong.
Right.
But I could be wrong, but I don't
Some
know what
like
it
it
was.
Donkey Kong.
uh the famous Candy Kong movie.
Right. Yes.
Um, yeah, I don't know what it was, and it makes me really sad. And that's why I was trying to return to that park because I was hoping that like I would hear it again and
Yeah.
would be able to identify it because it was so familiar, but I couldn't place it, and then it passed. The other thing I really like about it is you talked. I feel like Mario music especially has recently has a lot of this like jazzy like big band influence
Yes.
in it. Odyssey especially introduced a lot of that.
3D World as well.
And then in this game I feel like they are introducing this kind of like there's these almost like 1960s 1970s department store like music
Oh yeah,
type
sure.
like arrangements added to it, which is just a different soundscape for Mario. But like I don't know, I think the instrumentation is so good. I think the like it seems to be like real performances,
Yeah.
of like people playing these real instruments, and the soundtrack is just it's amazing. The
Yeah,
soundtrack is so
it's
good.
it's a really really good one, and like I know there are corners of the internet where people are talking about it, but I think it's a little bit an unsung virtue of the game that the soundtrack is just kicking and is something that could be like wholly enjoyed on its own.
One thing I was kind of surprised with in the Grand Prix is like just the regular cups. So they talked about in the beginning like you would have to travel from like
Yes.
course to course. And I did not understand the first like couple of times that I did a cup. Like I didn't really clock what was happening
It
because
can be kind of tough to understand it.
because like I think one I don't know if it's a bad thing, but something that's different about the implementation here is that you're the first course that you do, the first track you do most of the time like a traditional like 3 laps or whatever,
Yes.
and then you travel to the next place, and then you really just do like 1 lap
And so
of that one.
sometimes you do two, right? And sometimes like the second lap is the first lap in reverse,
Right.
right? But yeah, they're all. It always starts with like something that's more or less a straightaway, right? Um, and it's not until like you reach the new destination where laps even become a possibility.
Right. And that's just different. I didn't know what to expect. And so I kept expecting to be like, okay, we do a track and then we race to get to the next track, and that determines your order.
Right?
And
No,
then you start
you
again
just
in like the
go. Yeah.
traditional. But that's not really how it works. And so it took me a while to kind of like figure out the mechanics of it and be like, okay, we're gonna get to the next track, and then we're maybe just gonna do one loop of it, and then it's gonna be over with.
Right, or it's not a loop at all. Like
Right.
I do think some of the one way tracks in this are some of the like best and brightest. I mentioned already the Rainbow Road, but like the end of the Mushroom Cup, just that Donkey Kong
Ooh, that
thing
is so fun.
is so cool, because it ends with you like going back and forth up like construction site style a Donkey Kong thing, and there's a robot Donkey Kong at the top of it throwing barrels at you. It's so cool and so fun, but like it would be impossible to make laps out of that.
Right.
That it would just you get to the top and then like they just launch off the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I was trying to think what else in Mario Kart World that I wanted to talk about.
Well, so you mentioned the Knockout Tour at all a little bit. Do you want to talk about like have you played many of those
Yes.
or yeah
Oh, I love Knockout. I love Knockout Tour.
yeah.
It's so stress inducing.
Sure. So I've not found that yet. I feel like I'm pretty good at Knockout Tour, so I tend to just stay in it. It's crazy that like you're effectively racing for 6 consecutive tracks,
Uh-huh.
right? Um, just how long that is. Where you're like, I can't. I'm still holding the A button after like 25 minutes. That it never lets up. I will say the one place where Knockout Tour like kind of drags a little bit is if you're playing 2 player co-op or not co-op but local. If one of you gets knocked out, then that player just has to like sit there and wait for
Oh,
the person
uh-huh.
who didn't get knocked out to finish the race. So that can be a little bit of a bummer.
They should be like a ghost or something. You should be able to just like practice. You should be able to just
Yes,
keep going.
that was well, and especially because during the knockout, it is a new. They're like different slices of the courses, right? Or like their laps are out the window. And how you get from one track to the next is different than it would be in a cup.
Well, another thing that is I think really fun about the tracks is that because there are all these new moves like being able to grind
Yeah,
or even like ride up on electrical wires and do all that sort of stuff is that there's areas that I see when I'm in a track being like I have got to come back here and free roam and figure out
right.
how I do this, like
Yes,
figure out how I optimize it. And also the game just really like there's no tutorial unless you go searching for it in the menu to teach you the new moves. There's
right.
nothing that tells you can like ride up on rails. There's nothing that tells you about
Wall riding,
wall
or
riding or
there's nothing that
anything.
tells you about the charge jump.
Right, or
Yeah,
like being able to rewind or anything. Like
right.
none of that is tutorialized to you. It's just out there for you
Yeah,
to kind of like discover or
right.
go searching for if you want.
Which is similar to the way that the free roam doesn't really keep track of things for you, and the way it's hard to tell how you're going to get those costumes.
I do think that there are parts of the world in free roam where I feel like there is, and this is where I think having more detail and a little more uh, information about like what you're missing in that area would be helpful. Because I feel like there's some areas where I'm just like I don't feel like there's anything going on here, and I'm sure I'm missing something,
Right.
but it doesn't make me want. It makes me want to just like go continue on to an area where I know something is happening or that looks more interesting.
Right. Well, and like the world itself is pretty big, but it's not like Hyrule, right? It's not Breath of the Wild big. So like I sort of feel like in your free roam playthrough or whatever you're going to get out of it that you can revisit areas like kind of over and over again and like still have fun exploring them. But yeah, if you don't know when you're done with a world, like that's a little frustrating.
I also like that they have some nods or some like tributes to older tracks as part of those P
Yeah.
switch things.
Hmm.
So like tracks that aren't included in a cup or anything. But if you hit a P switch, it's like, oh, the P switch challenge is to basically do, like an old track.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all. I mean, it all seems. It's all good. I like all of the P switch challenges. Um, and I love it when there's one of them where like you try to do it and you're like, I don't know how
I
I'm gonna.
know, yeah.
It's the perfect thing of like I'm never gonna be able to do this, and then 20 minutes later you've done it.
I will say it tanks the battery life on my Switch.
Oh,
If
does
I'm
it really?
Switch 2, if I'm playing it in a handheld, like it is maybe I can play like 2.5 hours.
So there's a thing with the or with the battery life indicator that it like shows lower battery life than is actually happening on the Switch.
Yeah, and I don't know if my Switch 2 suffers from that because I haven't run it down to 0 to see if I can continue playing for 2
Right,
hours.
right, right. It's not a
Uh,
game you want to play.
but I mean, I guess there wouldn't be any harm in it. But no, I just think that the battery life on the Switch 2 is not amazing.
Sure. Well, and like Mario Kart 8 or Mario Kart World is it's a demanding game. Like it is kicking out 60 frames a second, pretty great looking graphics, you're doing like HDR and all this other stuff. So,
Yeah, but yeah, I guess like final word, or at least from what I've played of
final
Mario,
word, we're done talking about it,
but
Mark
like
says.
Mario Kart World for me is that it really does make all the old Mario Kart games feel ancient. Like it
Yeah.
feels
Mhm.
I'm really loving it, and I just feel like I have so much more to explore in it.
Totally. How do you feel about the fact that there are only 32 tracks in the game?
It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Like I think that there were a lot of tracks in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, especially in the Booster Course Pass, that aren't that good.
Yeah.
And I feel like the hits to miss ratio in this game is higher.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Sarah's actually entered the room. Sarah, are there any Mario Kart World tracks that you don't like off the top of your head? Are there any areas that, as you're playing them, you like them a little bit less? Tracks, you know. She's saying that she's not on mic, but so I won't just let her talk. But if you want to get on mic, you can say. She says that she likes them. That there aren't any areas that she's not into. Um, I feel like there's still so much of this game that I have yet to explore, experience. I haven't turned on battle mode at
Yeah,
all
me
yet.
either.
And well, Sarah's done a lot in free roam. I feel like I want to spend a lot more time in free roam as
I
well.
haven't gone online at all either.
I haven't gone online either. Um, Mark, what do you make of the fact that like free roam isn't really something that you can do like co-op or even like when you do it online, that like the P switches aren't there, that it's just kind of like a world for you to drive around in, but nothing really to accomplish.
Yeah, I think it would be fun, and this is something that I feel about Welcome Tour as well when we get to it. I think it'd be nice if there was more opportunity for people to like
Play
play that
together.
part of it
Yeah,
together.
yeah, I think so too. Especially like it does seem like it was a selling point of Mario Kart World when they first showed it off, that they were like, you can explore this world together with your friends, and like that was part of the whole sell of the game chat. Initially with the camera, like everyone was playing the free roam part of Mario World. I guess we now understand that they were all in their own separate world and just
Right.
talking together, but that kind of sucks, you know?
Yeah.
Anything else on Mario Kart World before we move on over to Welcome Tour?
I can't think of anything, but I do think that, like you said, I've only scratched the surface of it. It
Yeah.
feels like, and so I'm sure it's a game that we'll be talking about a lot more.
Sarah's unlocked every single one of the costumes.
Oh, whoa! Way to go, Sarah. That's awesome.
And like put in concerted effort to like, okay, now I'm gonna go to where this specific food is and like change characters, try this person.
And like the costumes that you unlock are kind of themed to the areas that you're in. So it's
Sometimes
like,
kinda, yeah.
it's like, oh, you're by the ocean, it might be a pirate, or you're like in Boo Cinema and it's like the spooky ones.
Well, and we think it's based not on the area, but the food that specific vendor gives you.
But I think the food is based on the area you're in.
Right, but sometimes there are multiple foods in one area.
Right. Yes.
So,
yes. I think all of these things are true.
Right.
I think all of this is true. Also, Sarah, you will now know then, like, not all of the characters have the same amount of costumes, right? Like,
Oh yeah,
some of
there's
them
a huge
have
yeah.
more than others.
Well, like Pauline has 2,
oh,
for example.
okay, yeah.
And Mario's got like 9 or something like
And
that.
some of them, like Cow, doesn't have any, right?
So
There's no.
yeah, all of the like enemies and like NPCs, no costumes at all. It's really just like the named characters, and like Koopa Troopa and Toad and Toadette. I guess Toadette's a named character, but yeah, everyone else, yeah, there's not like Pokey doesn't have alternate costumes. The dolphin doesn't have alternate costumes.
Got it. Yeah.
Um, Also, I don't care. I know their names are Dolphin and Cow. I'm going to refer to them as the Cow and the Dolphin.
What about Birdo? Because Birdo's an unlock.
Birdo's got
Okay, got it.
alternate costumes.
Got
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Yeah, I
Um.
have so much more to unlock there.
Yeah. There's a ton. Excuse me. Also, I know that uh the character select screen can get a little bit overwhelming once you've started to unlock a lot of costumes. You can sort them so that it either like presents all the characters just sort of as they are, or you can do if you push the X button, I think to sort them, you can see all of like the Mario costumes together, then all the Luigi, all that. So
Uh-huh.
and that's very handy. Now, do we want to move off of Mario Kart?
Sure.
Okay. Uh, Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, the $10 tour of the hardware features of the Switch 2. Um, uh, what a strange experience this thing is.
Yeah, this is another one that I haven't finished. Like I
I
haven't
have not
beaten
finished
it.
it either. Yeah.
But yeah, what a strange experience. This is one where I am enjoying it, but I I like I find it genuinely interesting
I do too.
to learn about like so many different aspects of the Switch 2 in ways that I was like not expecting. Like learning about the speakers and how
Yeah.
they work and how they're shaped, or how like HD Rumble 2 works and why it's improved over and like Rumble from 1997, or even like the first HD Rumble. Like all that stuff I think is so interesting, and the way it's presented is so dry. Where you're like a lot of it where it's like
Yes.
you're reading the information and then you take a little quiz at the end, and it's like
Well, right. In a lot of ways, it feels like you're taking like a sexual harassment training
right,
at
like
work.
corporate training.
Right.
Yeah,
And
for
then,
sure.
then you have to like do a little quiz about it
Uh-huh.
afterwards. And sometimes you're like reading them too fast, and then you're like, ah, crap. I don't remember the answer to this one. You have to take the quiz a second time, which is
Yeah,
just humiliating.
I know.
But like I find that basically all the mini games and the demos within it are both more engaging and more challenging than I thought they were going to be.
Yes.
And I really, really like them. So you get these medals for completing them at various scores, right? Sometimes, or there's always like two levels, and then like a hidden third one, which is like doing it perfectly. And there are like activities within the game that you unlock by having a certain number of medals. And I remember like seeing the first couple areas and being like, oh, this is like 4 medals, this is 7 medals, but then also seeing something like 42 medals and just being like, oh my god, there's a lot in here. There's a lot to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, and I'm like you. I have found the mini games to be pretty fun,
Mhm.
and like the perfect amount of challenging, where you're like, ugh, like I know that I can do it fast enough to get that second medal.
Right.
I just have to like keep trying. Like there was one of them where it's like the first time they introduced mouse controls to you, and you're avoiding like bombs that are falling and trying to collect stars
Yeah,
and
and
like
you're a
all this
little
kind of stuff.
UFO. Yeah.
You're a little UFO, and you're trying to get 40 points or something like that. You get 1 point for every star you collect.
Right.
And the amount of hazards that they're throwing at you. I probably spent 30 minutes
Yeah.
trying to get that second one, trying to get those 40 points. But yeah, it's I am enjoy like I feel fine about spending $10 for it.
Totally. Right.
But I also understand the perspective of I should have just been included, because I think it's I don't know, I wish more people could experience it, but at the same time I think maybe it is for the best that there's like a $10 barrier for entry, and
Interesting.
because I think that will maybe like make it more likely that the right people find it, or like people that will get value out of it.
Well,
Because what it's
yes.
doing is so specific.
Right.
I think.
Yes. I agree in that like you have to want to really delve into like the specific nerdery of the Switch too. And so I don't think it is going to be interesting to like anyone playing. But yeah, and like if you spend the $10 on it, I think you're going to value it a little bit more than if it was just something that was packed in there.
Right.
And yeah, it's it's gonna be like a weird the what you have to pay for stuff on Switch 2 and to pay to get Switch 2 is such like a loaded part of the narrative around the system right now that like I don't think anyone's in a place to talk about it not emotionally. But like I don't know, $10 seems like a fair price for this thing that is also like good and makes it seem semi-valuable to me.
The other thing I really like about it is, you can't just play it docked, or you don't just play it
Yeah.
in handheld
You got
mode.
to do
Like
everything with
it's
it.
it's constantly asking you
Yep.
to like take it out of the dock, put it in the dock, play with the like hinge on the back, like
Yep.
play with the kickstand, take the Joy-Con off, put the Joy-Con on, use the touch screen.
Oh my god, the
Like
the thing where you have to touch like 10 different
yeah,
colored
twister for
circles.
your hands.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so fun.
yeah, it's a little mini game where to show that like the capabilities of the touchscreen, and it has all these different circles that are different colors, and it basically tells you, like put a finger on a red circle, and then put another finger on a blue circle,
And hold them.
and hold them, and you're
Yes.
trying to like the max you can do obviously is like hold 10 at the same time.
Right.
I never could. Like nine is the most that
Oh, I got 10.
9 is the most that I could get on there.
You got to like
Um,
strategize about like okay,
uh-huh.
what's the shape of my hand and when can I start using the second hand here?
But yeah, and I still have so much more to go. Like I've only have done the like A, B, and C areas.
Yeah, me too. I will say there's maybe a little bit too much of stamp collecting where you have to basically go buy every single button and feature of the Switch 2 and like you get a stamp for that, but the stamps aren't anything. It's kind of just like checking off that
It
you
just unlocks the
yeah,
next area. You have to have
right.
collected the stamps. Yeah, all the stamps in an area in order to progress. Also, I don't think the quizzes are very fun. Like
Sure.
I like the information. I do think the information is interesting, but there's something about the format that, like you said, feels so corporate trainee
Yeah.
that I yeah, don't particularly care for them, and yet I continue to do them because they have information that I think is
That you want.
interesting.
Yeah. Well, and by the time you've learned like the 4 or 5 things about whatever feature they're talking about, you're like, yeah, sure, I'll take the quiz.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, there are a ton of areas, and I sort of don't know what to expect because the first 3 areas are left Joy-Con, screen, right Joy-Con. That, as far as I know, is the whole Switch. Like, I know we're gonna go to like the dock and to the
And you
camera
go
and all
like
this other stuff.
inside and stuff like that.
Ah, sure,
Yeah.
okay. But yeah, it's a cool little thing. I don't think we have too much more to say about it now, but I do like it. Mark, other games that we've been playing.
So I turned on Breath of the Wild,
Yes.
and my original goal was I'm just gonna do the Great Plateau, and then that'll be like as much as I need to see, and then can move on. Of course, the game is too good at making you feel like, well, I'm just gonna go over that hill and then I'll be
Right.
done.
Right.
Or I just gotta see what's around this corner and then I'll be finished.
Yes.
And so I definitely played more than just the Great Plateau. But I have to be totally honest, where it looks great. I
Hmm.
But it just looks how I remember Breath of the Wild, like looking and running. And I
Oh,
know that's not the case. I
yeah.
know if I had them side by side,
Right.
that it would be a different experience. But th- I I don't see it. Like
I see.
I
I
when I'm
see.
experiencing it just by itself, I'm like, yeah, this looks good. But this is how I remember in my mind's eye Breath of the Wild looking. I'm sure that's not true,
Oh man.
but that's how I feel.
I remember like so clearly, even just like walking out in that first area out of the like resurrection chamber, whatever it's called, um, and like it sort of stuttering a little bit because there are like too many blades of grass, kind of like dancing around, and in the Switch 2 version, that's just like smooth and 60 frames per second the whole time, and just like everything feels like fast and dynamic and yeah, I'm a little bit in love with Breath of the Wild right now. I'm currently on my way to Hateno Village, after getting off the plateau and checking in on Kakariko and all that stuff. I sort of just feel like I'm back in it and will play. I honestly don't know. I may beat this game again.
I know I do. It just reinforces the feeling that I have, that I think mechanically and like with the storytelling that there's a lot of improvements that were made of Tears of the Kingdom, but I think that there is a magic to Breath of the Wild
Right.
that like no other game can capture. And yeah, I had so much fun jumping back into it.
Can I tell you a Switch 2 thing that I am loving in Breath of the Wild? I'm playing it with the Pro controller, and of course, the Pro controller has these G buttons, G, L, and GR, which are programmable buttons, very easily programmable by game and by user. So I have taken the GR button, which is like kind of back by my like index finger or whatever on the grip, and I have mapped that to the run button in Breath of the Wild, so I can now run and jump without doing a weird claw grip.
Oh, uh-huh.
So it has made that game immensely more comfortable. And so now I'm thinking like, oh, do I want to do that with Mario Kart as well, so I can put accelerate on there,
Oh
so I don't have
yeah.
to like busy my thumb with that. Um, it's and it's so easy to set that button. You hold the home button, and for like a
Yeah, it's
second
part
or
of the quick
something.
menu.
hmm and then you just see the two G buttons down there, and you can just select them, and then the next button you push is the button that's mapped to it. So an incredible little bit of you can take some like complicated button presses off of the face buttons.
The other thing that I've really noticed with Breath of the Wild is the load times are so fast.
Very snappy,
It's
yes.
so nice. Like, yeah. No, I'm with you. It is very tempting to just like play Breath of the Wild.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Which feels silly because I'm like, I got a whole new Mario Kart to play. I've got these GameCube games. I haven't even turned on the GameCube app, but we can talk about that if you would like. I've got Cyberpunk and Street Fighter 6 on there. I want to play all these
I
things.
know. That's what's been so fun for me with the Switch 2 is that it feels like there's so much that I want to play and I don't really know. I feel like a kid in a candy store. Like I don't know where to direct my attention
Right, we've been in the
because I want to
desert
do
for
it
a year and
all.
a half, right?
I know. Yeah.
And we're just ready to be overloaded with games. Um, okay, so have you gotten a chance to play anything else? Have
No,
you played GameCube at all?
so I turned it on. Like I downloaded it, I turned it on. I did the thing that I saw online. Like if you want to see the GameCube, like the classic
Yep.
GameCube, like system screen, where like da 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 da
Yeah.
da. When you are starting the GameCube app, if you just hold the left thumbstick on any of the controllers you're using, it will launch that screen.
That's nice.
And I really want to play Wind Waker because it's been so long since I played Wind Waker. But I have a finite amount of time that I can game, and so
And you're already sort of playing Breath of the
I'm sort
Wild,
of
so
playing Breath of the Wild. I still got Cyberpunk I haven't even turned on. There's so much more Mario Kart World I need to get into. Plus, I got this like welcome tour. I've got to take some
of
quizzes about
course.
the about the kickstand. So
Right. No, it's a lot. I did turn on Cyberpunk last night and played for about an hour. And a couple of things that make that experience weird is, it takes place in a dystopian city. And so does my life at the moment. So I didn't. It felt kind of gross playing it after a little while. But and when you boot up the game, it offers you a bunch of different ways to use the Switch 2 functionality to control it, right? So you can do like motion assisted aiming, you can do mouse controls with like the right hand for aiming and all that kind of stuff. Um, and like touch controls are an option. And I set it to do the mouse controls, and it did that. I was playing with mouse, mouse in my right hand and like uh, Joy-Con in my left, using like the thumbstick there, through the entire tutorial section, and then when it skipped to the like, there's like an opening like intro section that's about an hour long, and then after that it like kicks into main game, and when it kicked into the main game, it had changed which one of those control methods,
hi.
and I didn't have like the patience to like try to fix it, so I just like switched to the other like motion assisted aiming. But I kind of want to like change it back to uh the mouse. The I gotta like rewire my brain to like play a game like Cyberpunk. just I mean, so far while playing it, I've fired guns. I've seen breasts, penises, and a vagina. And it's just like, oh yeah, this is like a totally different like speed of gaming
Right.
for me, and I just need to like, oh, okay, yes, this is different. But it's cool. I mean, like, and it works like surprisingly well. I can tell it's not like kicking off like the best possible performance, um, but I'm enjoying it.
Have you had an opportunity to play Street Fighter 6 at all?
No, I do have the Street Fighter 6 amiibo sitting here with us on the table right now, along with the Tears of the Kingdom sages. Because it's time to get the amiibos out of their packaging and kind of hang out with them. I'm hoping to dig into some of Street Fighter 6 this weekend, but yeah, I mean, anything else you want to say about games that you have been playing on Switch 2?
No, I think that's pretty much everything I've had the chance to dig into at this point.
Have you done any? I've done just like a little bit of like jump into like Link's Awakening and
No, I haven't.
see
In
it
fact,
run buttery smooth.
no, I deleted all old games, like all Switch games
Yeah,
that were transferred over with my system. I just deleted all of them. And so the only thing I have on there now are the classic libraries and then the new games. So Mario Kart World, Cyberpunk, and Welcome Tour. And so no, I haven't. I've purposely been trying to limit my focus, as silly as that sounds, when I still have, like three whatever, like 100-hour games on
right.
there that I could play.
All right. Well, so that's how we've been spending our first week with the Switch 2. Oh, I guess any broad takeaways. How are we feeling? This is a brand new launch of a Nintendo thing. Are you happy with how it's gone? Are you how are you feeling, Mark?
Yeah, I'm excited. I am all in to it because I we know so little about what Nintendo has planned
Right.
for the Switch 2. I'm sure we'll talk about it more on Tuesday's episode, but they surprised us with a Splatoon spin-off, and we have Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Well, and an update for Splatoon 3 as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like, but really what else Nintendo has in store for the Switch 2? I am very excited for this generation because if World is any indication,
Right.
like we've been saying, I think they're gonna have to take some of these franchises in new directions, and I'm really excited to see what that means.
I do think it's interesting that you say that you are excited, because that is the kind of language that we use when we're talking about the future, and not necessarily about the present. I do think this is a fun launch, but it does feel like a little bit game bare, right? Like Mario Kart World is a big, cool, fun game that I'm very happy with, but like that's it. That's the main attraction, right? Everything else is games that have existed on other platforms before and is welcome to her. But yeah, it is the in an earlier conversation you and I had talked about how this launch doesn't feel like a moment in time. It feels like part of a period in time. And I am also excited, but I feel like we are just at the beginning of that launch.
I agree. Yeah, Mario Kart World is an interesting kind of like marquee title because even with free roam, I don't know, it just doesn't have like I think it's a really great. I think it's a really great Mario Kart title, and I think that it proposes interesting things for what Nintendo might be doing.
Right.
But yeah, I think I'm still waiting on that like Bonanza or whatever it's going to be that I think really like transforms hopefully kind of how we see the system.
Yeah, and I think it's possible that like that comes a year from now,
Right.
and not I mean, Bonanza comes out next month.
But I know what you mean. Like,
yeah.
and maybe not. I don't. Maybe transforms is maybe not the right word, but maybe like clarifies how I see the system. Because right now I see like a
Hmm.
cool game and a system with lots of potential. But but it's
It was just so obvious what the Switch was,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And we don't we're not there yet. What the Switch 2 is, we recognize is like a technically better execution of everything the Switch did, but like what is the game personality of it? We don't know yet.
Yeah.
All right, Mark, that's our first week with the Switch 2. Let's close this conversation out. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Listeners, of course, we want to hear about your first 7 days with the Switch 2. And so get in the Discord, email us, whatever. We will be happy to take that in, continue talking about this probably forever. And that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Thank you so much to our 16-bit patrons, Connor McKay, Patrice Millette, Kyle Seaborn, Drew Mackey, and James Haig. We appreciate you. We appreciate everyone who is listening or contributing or interacting with us in any way. Join our Discord if you have not already. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Eller saying thank you for listening.